Okay, so we are all set to move on into another top 10 list. I know I did top 15 last time. I'll do top 10. Oh, wait, what's this? It's weird. I didn't see this sitting here. Dear Shannon, it is you from the future. I don't have much time. The portal's going to close. You just did a top 15 centers video, which got lambasted. Please, 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 please don't do the goaltender video. It leads to horrible, horrible things. Armageddon. It's kind of gets scratchy after that. Something about, is it dinosaurs? Just don't do it. Nothing good can come from a goalie's top 10 list. No one will ever agree with you. It's a terrible idea. And then just, and it's not signed. So I don't even know who that's from. I'm sure it's nothing. Armageddon. It's just from one guy on the internet giving a list of video of opinion. Now I'm going to back this up with a little bit of stats. Goaltending is tricky, right? Because we can all look at stats and say, yes, that goaltender has better stats than that one, but look at the defense he played behind, but look at the team he played on. But that guy had really good stats, but again, he played on a really good team. Well, that guy, so it is really hard to come up with who the best goaltender is. I did use quality starts for this. It's a number I became aware of last year during the season. So for people who think I don't use advanced stats at all, I just don't use them in videos. I do look at them. I find them interesting. And in this case, I use them in part to kind of tell me, okay, but at the end of the day, it is really, really difficult to rate goaltenders. That said, I'm going to try my best to do so today. Honorable mentions, Connor Hellebuck, who I could not have in the top 10 due to overall stats last year and due to quality starts, 45.2%. So in 45.2% of his starts, he saved league average or saved better than a goaltender who would have been in his spot. That's just too low. Matt Murray, who had a better stat that way, but his overall numbers, the first round he had, Matt Murray, for me, very good goaltender. Is he top 10? I don't have him there this year. Robin Lehner, who had an excellent season, fantastic, up for Vezina, but played 46 games. And his quality starts at 60.5%, career save percentage of .918. For me, I could not have him ahead of these other 10 guys. And I know and that's where goaltending gets really, really tricky to gauge, because you can look at Leonard and go, well, he was fantastic, but there are people who are going to say, so was Greiss. And Greiss isn't on the list. So again, and Greiss had excellent numbers as well. You look at the advanced stats on Greiss and Leonard, they're really not that far apart. And that was why I was kind of surprised when Robin Lehner ended up being up for Vezina, because I thought Greiss and Leonard's numbers were close enough together that you could say, this is the Islanders' defense doing this, and their goaltending coach being this good, as much as it's the players being this good under the system. So, that being said, and hopefully that being understood, and despite notes from the future, we're going to give this a shot. And again, it's just an opinion thing, because with goaltenders, we will never agree. You know what? I'm not going to do it in black, because I did the numbers in black. I'll do it in purple. Might as well have a fun color on the board while everybody's getting mad at me for my opinion. Number 10, Frederik Andersen of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Freddie gets a lot of flack, and I don't think it's fair. That being said, if they win rounds of the playoffs, he will move up this list quickly. Anytime he's on a hot streak, TSN and Sportsnet, well, is he in the Vezina Trophy article up the internet, which makes people resent the Leafs, and then it causes people to over-criticize Andersen. Andersen's numbers last year, he started 60 games, it's 36 wins. His career save percentage is .918, which is excellent. And his quality starts, 63.3%. So again, Hellebuck's were 45.2, and Robin Lehner's were 60.5. So for quality starts, Andersen has a higher percentage than Lehner. And that's another reason why Lehner's not in the top 10. So, and Leonard played 14 less games. So Freddie, pretty solid season. And again, if he won in the playoffs, I would have him higher on the list. And I know people are going to say, well, that's on the Leafs. I know. Number 9. I couldn't have him higher. I'm saying right now, I couldn't have him higher. And there are going to be people who say that Jordan Binnington doesn't belong on the list. And this is where it gets tricky. Jordan Binnington only played 32 games. In those 32 games, quality starts, 66.7%. He had a .926 save percentage. That is the second highest number, quality start number. Yep, he's number 2 on the list, but only 32 games. It's a smaller sample size. So again, Binnington in the playoffs looked really good. He had some pretty iffy games in and amongst each series, which kept his overall numbers lower than what I think his actual play was, and I did videos on it during the playoffs. But for me, Binnington, top 10 goaltender, yes. When I see people saying he's the greatest goaltender in the league right now, I think you need to pump the brakes on that just a little bit. He's not there yet, and I don't know that he'll ever be the best goalie in the league. But when you win the Stanley Cup, does it matter? That's the thing. You know, ask the Blackhawks. Does it matter that they didn't have necessarily a Vezina winner in the net when they won the Stanley Cup? No, didn't bother them in the slightest. Did not bother Binnington at all that he didn't win Vezina or Calder. He won the trophy that matters. Number 8. And I went back and forth on this. So Tuukka Rask had a great playoffs. And without Tuukka Rask in net, you could argue Boston doesn't go to the finals. The problem is Halak had better numbers than him this year. Tuukka also only played 46 games. Quality starts, 53.3%. So his quality starts number is too low for me to justify having him higher than 8th. His career save percentage of .926 is excellent. This year it was .912 during the regular season. So his playoffs were great. And once they were down against Columbus, he just shut the door. Against Columbus, against Carolina, and then for a lot of that series against St. Louis, he was fantastic. But in the end, I had to kind of balance it out and say, okay, so he was great during the playoffs. During the regular season, he played a lot less, which made him fresher for the playoffs. But Halak kind of had better numbers. So, and that's where it gets tricky. Because Jaro Halak was fantastic. And at the start of the playoffs, I even said I thought Rask was on a short leash. And Halak could end up in there because Halak had a great year. So again, it's kind of the Robin Leonard thing of, was Rask that good or was Boston's goaltending coaching that good? All right, number 7. This is where it gets tricky too. Because he didn't have a fantastic season. And yet, Braden Holtby for me is still a top 10 goaltender in the National Hockey League. He had 59 games played, 32 wins. His quality starts number is 56.9%, which is lower than a lot of the other guys on this list. And of course, in the playoffs, they lost in the first round in 7. That being said, he's a year removed from winning a Stanley Cup, from being a big part of that Stanley Cup win for the Washington Capitals. And he has won Vezina trophies. And so with Holtby, I don't think he's over here, but I don't think you can drop him off the board either. I couldn't drop him off the board, have Leonard in there. And again, you know, we can quibble over numbers, and I know we will. When I do these lists, I do them knowing that my top 10 is not going to look like anybody else's. I don't do this going, okay, I want consensus. No. Even if I did a poll on the channel, what would happen is you get a lot of Leaf fans voting. You'd get a lot of Canadian team fans voting, and we'd see Canadian team goaltenders in the top 10 and pretty high up too. And then people would say, well, it's just skewed because the bigger fan bases all voted. Or, if MarcAndre Fleury was number 1, well, that's because you got all kinds of subscribers in Vegas. So again, there isn't really a way to do this that's not going to have questions at the end. So Holtby for me is at 7. At number 6, and I went back and forth and back and forth. I've been agonizing over this list since I uploaded the center video. John Gibson is 6th for me, and yet I could have justified, in my eyes, I could have justified having him as high as 2. John Gibson had a great year. 58 games played, 26 wins. His career save percentage, though, is .912. And he's his 59.6% quality starts gives me some pause. And I know Anaheim fans are going to say, well, he fell off after the Ducks fell off the cliff. But still, I've watched other goaltenders not, and again, he went through injury. It is really hard to look at this season that Gibson just had and pin down where he stands in terms of the best goalies in the league, which is why I could justify Gibson anywhere between 2nd and 6th. And for people on the East Coast who don't see much of John Gibson, he is fantastic, which is why Freddie Andersen was available for the Toronto Maple Leafs a few years ago. Not because Anaheim, didn't think the world of Andersen. They did. It's just Gibson's that much better. His overall numbers at the end of the year weren't fantastic, but there weren't very many in Anaheim that did have fantastic numbers this year. And for me, it's Gibson at 6. There's so many people who are just going to fast forward to the end of this video just to gripe and complain with who's where on the top 10. And I explain it. It's like I explain the top 15 centers, and there's still people, It's like, where's Draisaitl? He's on the wing. Draisaitl plays. And I've seen a couple. Well, where's Giroux, though? And I don't know if those are people from last summer trolling me, or if they're people who genuinely think Claude Giroux is still a center. Don't do it. Anyways, number 5. And this is where it gets tricky. I went back and forth on Bishop. The biggest issue for me with Bishop, keeping him out of the top 4, is his inability to stay healthy. 46 games played, 27 wins, 928 save percentage. His quality starts, 68.9%. Very high. His quality starts number, fantastic. But he's got to be able to stay healthy. And if he's not playing more than 46 games, that means you've got the other 36 that you have to worry about your goaltending. And I only went with games played. I didn't go with starts. I just went with games played. So for Bishop, there's some concern I have with Bishop because, in that I cheer for Dallas. Bishop, can he stay healthy is the biggest question, which is why it was good that Hudobin was fantastic. And to me, Hudobin also kind of hurts the case with Bishop. We talk a lot about how great Bishop is, but Hudobin's numbers were fantastic as well. So this is just, we've got some teams on this board that have some really great goaltending coaching that goes on out there, or their pro scouting is fantastic when it comes to finding goaltenders. So all right, we are past Bishop. We're into the top 4. This is where people get really mad at me. The higher up, the better the goaltender, the better the number, the more people are going to be like, well, where's so-and-so? All right. Number 4 for me is Carey Price, to which people are going to say I have him too high, and people are going to say I have him too low. So you can't please people when it comes to Carey Price. Carey Price is a damn fine goaltender. And this year he plays 66 games, 35 wins. Career save percentage, however, is .913. His career save percentage is not fantastic. It's good, but considering all the hoopla and how he always gets this, I don't know. I don't want to say that they portray him like he's Superman, but sometimes you get that feeling. I railed against NHL 19 this year for how highly rated they had Carey Price, and that's just it happens a lot. And I don't know if it's just on the Canadian side of the border or if in the States the way they cover him is the same. Carey Price is an excellent goaltender, but when he's portrayed as being Superman and the absolute greatest of all time, the stats just don't back it up. This year his quality starts number was 57.8%, which is higher than Holtby's, but barely. And it's much lower than Bishop's. But again, you can look and go, well, he had a lower save percentage because he was behind the Montreal defense. Montreal's defense wasn't great. How many of those starts count before Shea Weber came back? When Shea Weber came back, his numbers got much better. To which I would say, so does Shea Weber make Price a better goalie? Which means maybe Price is overrated. We can have this debate, and this is why rating goaltenders is so tricky. That said, for me, I think at 4, I think that works. If he's healthy, he's the number 4 goalie in the league. Number 3. This one's tricky for me. I I had him lower. I did. I had MarcAndre Fleury lower. MarcAndre Fleury played 61 games, too many. He played too many games this year for Vegas. 35 wins, and his quality starts number, 55.7%, which is low. I'm just going to look at the chart here. It's higher than Tuukka. It is higher than Connor Hellebuck, that's not on the board. It's actually higher than the guy that's higher than this on the board. We'll get into that argument. It's lower than Price by about 2%. And it's lower than Leonard, who's not on the board. But that said, when Fleury was on, he was fantastic. I do worry that as he gets older, and we're another year older this coming season, if he's not getting the rest that he needs, that number, that quality starts number, is going to dip below 50%. And if it does, Vegas is going to struggle. Vegas is going to be able to score a ton of goals, but we may see Vegas playing pond hockey, 80s style, where it's 5-4, 6-5, rather than the style of hockey they were playing in year 1 and in year 2. It could be one of those seasons. So for Fleury, he's got to get that quality starts number higher. I understand there's going to be people who say, well, Vegas had some rough patches in there, and I agree. He did play hurt, I thought, at points this year as well, and he was definitely overplayed. So, agreeing that he was overplayed, which drags his overall numbers down, I will put him at 3, and I'll leave it at that. Number 2, and again, I really agonized over this one. Somebody's like, you didn't agonize over this, Shannon. You just made this list this morning when you woke up. You just put names on a board, and you go, I'm going to put Vasilevsky at number 2. That way everybody can get mad and say, well, plays in Tampa, so of course he's got good numbers. But that's not true. He 53 games played, 39 wins, 919 career save percentage. His quality starts number, 64.2%. So he was a very good goaltender. Now, were those quality numbers because of the defense he played behind? Depends on which defense it was. The defense in the regular season or the defense in the playoffs. And the playoffs is why he's number 2 and not number 1. If Tampa survives round 1, wins a game in round 1, if Tampa had gone on and been the Stanley Cup champions this year, as was expected by myself and a lot of people after the regular season they had, we're talking about Vasilevsky being number 1 on this list. He's not. Because not because of what he did, but because somebody else overshadowed him in that series, because everybody knows who's number 1 right now. So we'll just go ahead, I'll post it, and we'll get into it. So the Florida Panthers, by my estimation, have who is arguably, and I say arguably because it was a tale of 2 seasons for Sergei Bobrovsky. He was miserably bad to start the year. He was awful. There were points where Korpisalo looked like he might take his job. Then he all of a sudden was a machine going into the playoffs. He was fantastic in the playoffs. Had a great first round against Tampa. Played very well against Boston in the second round. And finally showed he can play in the playoffs. His overall numbers, 62 games played, 37 wins. His quality starts, 50.8%. It's low. Vasilevsky's was 64. You can make the argument that Vasilevsky was the better goaltender this year and the better goaltender overall. But Bobrovsky, 8 shutouts? And once he got going, he was fantastic. So I could not just take a look at that first half of the season and some of the numbers he put up and say, he's not the best. Because really then that's ignoring how well he played against Tampa and Boston in the playoffs. That one knock that was against Bobrovsky the whole way through was how he played in the playoffs. That's gone. He has now proven himself as a goalie who can play in the playoffs. He is a big part of the reason why I see Florida making the playoffs this year. I've had people saying Florida's not very good. I don't know what you see in Florida. I've watched Florida for the last 3 years. Running this channel, I've watched a lot of hockey, way more than I ever wanted to. And Bobrovsky brings to Florida the competent goaltending they did not have this year. Whether it was Luongo being hurt, Reimer being inconsistent, or them having to go to Montembeault because he was the best option for a while there. Florida just didn't have goaltending. They had scoring. Their special teams numbers weren't bad. Their defense, pretty solid at times this year. Yeah, there were some weaknesses. That's why they brought in Strawman. But Bobrovsky fixes the big glaring hole that was on that roster, and it was in net. The Florida Panthers, a pretty damn good team, really good numbers. Their forward group is one of the best in the NHL. And we'll see if adding Bobrovsky makes that difference. So you guys can let me know in the comment section below. And if there's somebody I didn't give an honorable mention to, somebody that, and I went through every team's goaltenders, and there's going to be people who are upset. And if Canuck fans are going to say, hey, why don't you talk about Markstrom? Markstrom at a .912 save percentage, very good. It's the same save percentage as Rask. His quality starts number, not very high. And really, in all honesty, I could not argue Markstrom onto a top 10 list. I don't know that I would put him on the top 15. I already gave you guys 3 honorable mentions. I can't see him being in the next 2 goaltenders. But that being said, and ignoring the warnings from the future of dire consequences for posting this video, I will do it. I'll throw it up on the internet, and you guys can let me know who your 10 goaltenders are. Remember, I don't do this to start arguments and fights and everybody being mad at me. I do this so that people can give me their lists. Let me know what you guys think. That's how this channel started out, as kind of a discussion, and I still run it that way. So thank you guys so much. For those of you that understand, it's meant to be just a discussion and a debate, more than just what the rest of it sometimes becomes. Hey, YouTube comment sections, right? Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Give me your top 5. Give me your top 10. Rate all 30 starting goaltenders. I don't know. I have fun with it. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you again soon.